Hello again, Maylee here, back with another lesson about how those 5 superpowers for success in collaboration and relationship building can also help you level up as an entrepreneur. So just as a review, we have talked already about the superpower of pause and how that can help you gain some clarity, some focus, maybe help you get a little direction and help you be more responsive instead of reactive. We've talked about how your superpower of listen can help you develop compassion and empathy, help you grow your emotional intelligence, and really find a way to build that deep connection with the folks you're trying to serve, your ideal clients. So today we're going to talk about superpower number 3, which is be curious. So before I talk about be curious, just remember that superpower number 4 is assume good intentions and superpower number 5 is withhold judgment. We'll talk about them in future videos. But today we're going to focus in on this idea of being curious. So for me, I know that sometimes I feel like I'm really not connecting with my ideal client, with the folks that I really, truly want to serve. Sometimes I put stuff out there and I get back crickets, nothing, just nobody. And so this can really lead to me also feeling very overwhelmed, like I am having to kind of like do a shotgun approach of just throwing a million things out there. So I want to ask you to think today a little bit about how having an attitude of curiosity can help you with that. So when I think about building this skill of being curious, I am thinking about developing more of a growth mindset, more of a learner's heart. I'm thinking of putting yourself in that place where you examine possibilities all the time, where nothing is final. We're always growing and moving forward. So, in order to develop this skill of being curious, I would say, number 1, you must have already developed the ability to pause and listen. So there's a reason that those 2 superpowers come first. But as you think about building your skill of being curious, I first want you to consider being curious about yourself, building some curiosity around the idea of what are my motivations? Why am I doing the things I'm doing? And why am I believing the things I'm believing? I just heard a quote today. I'm a big podcast listener. Sometimes you guys hear me reference things here. And I heard, I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I heard on a podcast I was listening to today, but it said, "Don't believe everything you think," was the quote. And that's kind of the idea that I'm trying to get across, which is if you have a deeply buried belief about something, just be willing to get curious about it. What is at the basis of this belief? Where did it come from? Do I have any evidence that this belief may not, in fact, be true? And be willing to question your own motivations and your own underlying beliefs and ideas as you are working in your business. Because if you want to grow and you want to move forward, then you also want to keep this open mind so that you can investigate new opportunities and incorporate maybe some new ideas. So this idea of being curious about yourself, your motivations, your beliefs, where you're coming from, is the first piece of getting curious and being good at developing that skill of being curious. The other thing that I would suggest to build your skill of curiosity is get really good at asking questions. I'll give you a really good example. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes one of our pain points as entrepreneurs is that we'll put a message out into the world and we think, oh my gosh, I worked so hard on building this marketing piece or crafting this beautiful message, and then what we get back is crickets. Nobody responds. We don't make any sales. And I totally understand. I have felt this myself. What if instead of really working hard to craft that beautiful message, we just start asking questions? We start asking those people that we want to serve exactly what it is they want to know, exactly how it is that we can help them. Because if you start asking questions and you listen to things they say, you watch kind of how they're behaving, you get curious about barriers that they are experiencing, then you are, in return, going to be able to way more appropriately address their specific pain points. So get really good at being inquisitive, being curious, asking questions, and looking at the world from this idea of being curious. You're going to get a couple of things from this. Number one, if you enter your workspace with this idea of curiosity, you're going to be much more agile and adaptable when things like the coronavirus interrupt your workflow. Then you are more readily going to be able to go out there into your marketplace and ask some questions and adapt and adjust and move forward. The other thing that's going to happen if you get really good at asking questions and getting inquisitive is that you are going to be able to have more influence and more impact when you serve your target market. You are going to be developing a much more well-tuned sense of self-awareness if you are pushing that inquisitiveness inward, if you are being more curious about your own motivations and your own driving forces and beliefs. So again, I want to encourage you to think about really being curious, both with yourself, with those you're in relationship with. As I said, originally these superpowers were designed for success in collaboration and relationship building. So everything that I'm teaching you, even though I'm talking in this series about your life as an entrepreneur, obviously these skills also apply in building and maintaining excellent relationships. So your task for this week is to figure out a way to prompt yourself to be more inquisitive. Stop, pause, listen to your own inner thoughts and ideas. Be curious about where they're coming from. Listen to those whom you wish to serve so that you can become more agile and adaptable and that you can have more influence and impact. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, if you are interested in learning more about this, or if you want to know specifically how I apply the ideas in the 5 superpowers in my mastermind groups, I would love to talk with you about that. You've got my contact information. Feel free to schedule a call with me. I would love to, especially if you're a solopreneur, I would love to talk with you about how impactful it can be for you and your business to be in a wonderfully close and trusting collaborative environment. So reach out. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, you know my email, you know how to get in touch with me. I would love to chat with you more. You can tell I'm passionate about the superpowers. So I'm going to leave you with that this week, and I'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.